2023 paper for Health and Social Care, Unit 2, Working in Care. So in the previous video, I've looked through section A and B. We've gone through the questions, planned out some answers, reviewed the mark scheme, and so far we're doing okay. We're doing fairly well. So what I want to do is I want to go through the last two sections, section C and D, and we'll do the same approach, have an attempt at coming up with some plans, and then we'll mark them against the mark scheme. So the first question we've got is 3A. Now it's an area 3. We're about physical and sensory disabilities, and in this case we've got Alina, who's 49. She has arthritis and it's got worse. It affects her arms and her legs. It limits her movement, and it means that she is in pain. She lives in a bungalow on her own and is visited by a domiciliary care assistant. Now question 1 says identify 2 health settings that can support Alina with pain management. So we're looking for places she can go. So quite an extensive list. You could go with GP surgery. Now I always emphasize whenever you're using GP as an answer, you always want to make sure you want to say the GP surgery for the place, or GP/doctor for the person, or say, general practitioner, or for the person, or doctor for the person, general practice or GP surgery for the place. So do try and make sure you're specifying the place and the person. So GP surgery is one. If it's pain management, we could look at a pharmacy, and she might also go to a hospital to get support. There we go. So that's 3. I've given an extra one just in case, but we'll see how that goes. Now 3B, moving on, says we'll see, relates more to the domiciliary care assistant. It says describe 2 ways the care assistant should maintain confidentiality when working with Alina. So looking at confidentiality, I think that's a nice straightforward one. We can go down the route of ensuring all documents and records are locked away securely when not in use, e.g. in a cupboard. There we go. So that's our first one, lock them away. And again, maintaining confidentiality. So again, we're looking at, we go with only sharing information with professionals who need to know and are part of her care team. So again, down the route of only sharing with the professionals, and then I'm going to add a little bonus about share securely / safely. So again, that's how that information is shared. Okay, 3C. Oh, we've got a little bit of context to miss. So Alina wants to return to work. It says explain how she can be supported in a work environment to take account of her needs. Okie dokie. So if we're thinking about Alina returning to work, she wants to go into a workplace, how are we going to support her? So some of the things that could be done might be that her workplace / employer may need additional training or support in working with people with physical, I'm going to go with the title of this section, which is always physical or sensory disabilities. So we're going to go with physical disabilities. We can ensure that the workplace is accessible and adapted to meet Alina's needs, e.g. ramps, lifts, or adapted desk and workspace. Now, we could ensure that the workplace / employer offers accommodations to support Alina, such as breaks in, or such as extra breaks in order for her to take medication or rest. So again, considering arthritis, she may need to take medication during the day. She might need breaks from work because of the work environment. And we could make sure that ensure all policies and procedures in the workplace support individuals with additional needs / does not discriminate. There we go. So we've got quite a range of extra points here. So that's number 3C done. And then we go down to 3D. Now for 3D, we're sticking with Alina, and it says discuss the possible disadvantages of work when carrying, of multidisciplinary working when carrying out care and support for Alina. So this is the problems. Normally you get the advantages of multidisciplinary care. I'm just going to bullet point a list of potential problems. So what some of the issues you might get is conflict in care and treatment options, and that obviously might mean that care or treatments might clash and not be compatible. There could be, this obviously would often happen as a result of poor communication between the MDT. So again, if there's poor communication, that's another disadvantage. There could be disagreements over funding or care responsibility. So who is responsible for paying for treatment support services, and also who takes responsibility for providing them. So that can be a disagreement, and this could result in lack of support or missed care opportunities. There could be confidentiality breaches issue. So again, as information is shared between organizations, if they do not follow confidentiality processes. So quite a few issues there. And again, maybe one of the other downsides is that, again, it's not about service, but maybe sometimes service users can, I don't like to use the word manipulate, or create challenges between services. So there's almost that idea of bias, and because that must be problematic. Okay, but I've got, so 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 ideas suggested. So again, not unsure, do one more, particularly because one of those last ones could be a little bit on the odd side. But let's take a look at the mark scheme. We'll mark what we've got and then we'll move on. So 3A was the settings that would provide support for pain management. So we've got GP surgery. That's a nice big tick. And again, as I mentioned, emphasize GP surgery, GP practice, because there's that risk. If you just write GP, they will count it as doctor, not as the professional, not the place. And that happens vice versa. So again, if you're writing about GP, try and put GP/doctor to emphasize you're talking about the people, not the place. We've got health centre, pharmacies on that list. That's a nice tick. And we have hospital. I know you can't get more than 2 marks, but we've put 3 ideas. So we've got a little bonus there that we didn't need, but that one's correct. 3B was how to maintain confidentiality. So obtain consent to share information Discuss personal information privately to ensure no one overhears. To share information safely, password protected. Oh, there we go. So we've got sharing information safely. Follow policies and procedures to meet legislative requirements. Store, good. We've got lock away documents. That's one we had as well. Limit who information shared with, only those who need to know. So we've kind of also got that here. Information with only who needs to know, and then share securely and safely. So we've got our 4 in a sort of a similar fashion to the mark scheme. Now, 3C was asking us to think about what the workplace could do to support Alina in returning to work. So we've got here risk assessment and reviews, solve any access issues. Well, we did talk about access. There we go. So accessible and adapted. Occupational health assessment, occupational therapy assessment, adaptation of working. So environment, technical equipment, adaptation of working hours. Oh, we've got rest breaks. So that's on our list as well. Regular reviews, training for the manager we had. That's another tick there. And ensure policies and procedures support people, do not discriminate. And have we got anything about policies, procedures on that list? Solving issues, toileting, adaptation, reviews of demands. So there's nothing on policies and procedures, but it would be in the right line of ensuring the workplace is suitable. So again, I would probably give this a mark, but I'm going to put it as a yellow just because it's not on the list. But we have got 3 factors with some explanation, with connections to Alina in there. So we should be fine on that one. And then 3D, which was about the problems of a multidisciplinary team. And again, I went with 5 possible areas. So we've got difference of opinions, which we do have. So conflicts, disagreements over treatment, that's kind of in that field. Lack of available time, poor communication we had. So that's another tick for us there. Funding constraints. It's not constraint so much, but it's on that similar area. I'm going to put it as a yellow. It's not exactly the same, but it's disagreement over funding. Lack of coordination. We haven't got that one there. Lack of holistic approach, poor information sharing. I suppose I've got the confidentiality does fit with poor information sharing. We'll give that a tick. Again, lack of involvement, Alina, so not involving her. I've gone with a different way of talking about how Alina could manipulate the service. Again, not 100% on that one, so I'm not going to give it a mark, just if I'm going to be tough on myself. But we have got 4 explanations, 4 factors, 3 that are definitely matching up, 1 that's kind of on the same lines as the mark scheme. Okie dokie. And then that brings us on to section 4. So the final section, again, is age-related needs. Often the question can sort of take different approaches where it might put you in the position of a care worker. That's already been done in an early question, but let's have a look at the context. So we've got Acresfield Children's Centre provides services for children from birth to 5. It supports their families. It's staffed by health and social care professionals. Provision includes family support, parenting classes, and childcare services. And it says identify 2 health professionals who may work with children up to the age of 5. So quite a range here, but I'm going to just go with GP/doctor. I'm going to go with our general practitioner. I'm going to say a midwife. I'm going to put health visitor. And I'm going to go with pediatric nurse. I'm going to take a little, got a spell. Pediatric nurse. Pediatric nurse. There we go. I'll take a little gamble on pediatric nurse. So I've given 4. We only needed 2. We then move on to 4B nice and quickly there. So describe 2 procedures that should be followed when dealing with hazardous waste. So there we go. So we dispose of waste in correct manner, e.g. Blood waste being placed in sluice drain. Again, spellings all over the place. Sluice Again, we'll come back to check that one. Sluice drain, again, hazardous waste, so needles placed in yellow, sharps box, soiled bedding is cleaned professionally to avoid infections, cross-examination. Check on that one in the masking. 4C is our next question. Explain how financial and emotional barriers may prevent parents accessing the support offered at the centre. So financial barriers is quite straightforward. So financial would be cannot afford transport to the centre to access support, don't have money to call centre. So again, the idea of financial barriers, that they don't have the money, they can't physically get there. E.g., I'm going to put e.g. don't have bus fare. Don't have money to call the centre. Emotional. That's right. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, emotional barriers are linked to feeling judged or needing support, and also the idea of the stigma of needing help to care for children. And I'm going to put an extra one there as a little bonus. So emotional barrier, might fear children being taken away. So that's kind of my three there. And then last but not least, we've got 4D, and then we'll look at the asking for these. So the centre has recently been inspected. So discuss how the line manager at the centre may improve the standard of care in response to the inspection report. So effectively, what a care manager is going to do in response to an inspection is review the feedback from the inspectors and begin to make the recommended changes. So this might mean updating / reviewing policies and procedures used at the setting. It could involve providing additional training for staff. Additional training for staff. Adapting or changing facilities and services based on feedback. And maybe responding to feedback from users and staff. Again, this is what I'm going to go with, and we'll see how that fares against the mark scheme. So 4A, we'll jump to the mark scheme, review this and see how we go. So 4A was who would help look after children aged up to 5. So general practitioner, GP / doctor. So we've got that one, that's good. We've got health visitor on that list, pharmacist, practice nurse, pediatric nurses on there, good stuff. Excellent. Only accept relevant named nurses, accept any other valid response. So again, health visitor, health visitor was on the list. That's the second one there. So all 4 of those all would be correct. 4B, how we would prevent or dispose of waste. So I've gone with more practical ways, but they've got keep records and meet legislative requirements. Risk assessment to prevent hazard and accidents. Store correctly and lock cupboards, I guess if you're dealing with waste. Use PPE to prevent injury. Dispose of waste correctly. Meet legislative requirements. So accept relevant examples. So again, I've gone with correct manner. Blood waste in the sluice drain. Needles in the sharps box. So I'm going to give that a correct mark, and then I've gone with soil bedding, but I don't know again whether this is too many sort of specific examples where this answer looks like it's going more down the route of kind of the procedure. And let me just review the question. Did I read the question wrong? So there we go, describe 2 procedures that should be followed when dealing with hazardous waste. And again, I suppose that makes sense. They've gone down the kind of what is the process, what would you do, what's kind of the things you need to do. I've gone down to more the practical, but I'll give myself half the marks, give myself 2 out of 4 for that. 4C was about the emotional and financial barriers. So financial barriers we did first, which was lack of money to travel to the centre. We've got that, and I've given the specific about can't afford bus fare, although I've put buses with 2 S's. And don't have money to call the centre. So there we go. Lack of travel to the centre, unable to pay for the cost of services, lack of awareness of benefits. So I could have gone that done a little bit extra there in terms of not being aware of the barriers. Sorry, not being aware of benefits. But I would normally I would classify that as an awareness barrier and not being aware of what's available to them rather than a financial. But there is an overlap. Emotional barriers, I've gone with anxiety, social stigma, low self-esteem, lack of confidence. So I've gone down the feeling judged and the stigma. So that would be absolutely fine. I've gone with a little extra one there about fear, the children being taken away. Not specifically referenced, but I imagine that would be absolutely fine as part of an emotional barrier. Again, a good set of response there. Probably could have added a little bit more, but still, I think I've covered a good range of ideas. And last but not least, 4D. So this was how the centre responds to the inspection feedback. So we've got training, updating policies and procedures. Well, that's one we had. Appraisals, action plans and reviews, obtaining review service user feedback. Well, we had that. Respond to feedback. That's in that one there. Observe the practice, follow procedures for performance management. Additional training we had, so we've got training, and again I've gone down more specific, more practical things like adapting facilities and services and looking at what the feedback from inspectors were. So whether that would count as review feedback, but there you go. So we've got some ideas. Again, maybe not a perfect set of responses, some stuff in there that isn't explicitly on the list but probably would be fine. But again, hopefully this just gives you a little flavor, a little indication of the kind of questions, the kind of things they're asking in the exam. Ahead of this January exam for 2024, if you can, I haven't put a video on it, and I'm not going to put a video because it's sort of, again, some centres might be using the oh no, this is the most recent exam paper, so that's absolutely fine. But again, the January 23 exam, if you ever get a chance to look at it, it's a really good one as well for highlighting some changes. And again, because it is coming up, I will probably do a video on that as well. Okay, hope this has helped. Thanks for